The Miami Heat have reported interest in two key free agents still out there in the free agency market, one being Kelly Oubre Jr., one being Christian Wood. And that is the two main players I want to talk about on today's Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff. But before we do hop into those two players, I want you guys to help us reach an important milestone here at the channel, as we're only 25 subs away from 5,000 in total. We will cover you on a year-round basis regarding the latest Miami Heat news, Heat rumors, and you know when Damian Lillard gets traded to the Miami Heat, we will be live, so make sure you hit that sub button and join the channel. But it all started with this quote here by Greg Sylvander of 5 Reasons Sports Network when talking about Heat free agents and what their plan could possibly be after a Damian Lillard trade. This is what Greg had to say. Also, if the Heat do finally ever figure out a Dame trade, watch for both Christian Wood and Kelly Oubre to be on the team's radar as possible vet minimum additions in free agency per league source. And this makes a lot of sense, right? Like, when you look at these two players, Christian Wood has been heavily linked to the Miami Heat. Kelly Oubre, not so fast, sweetheart, but maybe he is now. And when you look at these two players, Christian Wood makes a lot of sense, and I would probably lean him over Kelly Oubre. I'll go in more in depth on both players here in a second, and we're going to start with Kelly Oubre because his fit to me doesn't seem as likely as Christian Wood. But when you look at what Oubre did last season for the Charlotte Hornets, at face value, you're like, damn, this dude is a tough-ass player and would be a good addition to the Heat, right? He averaged 20 points per game, 5 rebounds, also got in the passing lanes for 1.4 steals per night. But here's the thing with me. It's his efficiency, and I don't think his stats really show the value of who he is as a player. 43% from the field, 32% from beyond the arc. That's not going to cut it. And when you think about the statistics that he put up for the Charlotte Hornets last year, I don't really think they contribute to winning. I mean, there's a reason the Charlotte Hornets were picking number 2 overall last year in the draft and took Brandon Miller, right? Averaging 20 points per game on a bad team does not move the needle for me. You need to be able to contribute to winning, and I don't think Oubre did that in Charlotte, and his brand of basketball, in order to put up the statistics he did, is not winning basketball. And we know the Heat culture is all about winning, and I'm not sure Oubre would be willing to do that. But over the past 4 seasons, he has been really, really good and been on some decent teams. 2019-2020, he averaged 18.7 points per game in Phoenix. That's where he shot his best percentage from beyond the arc, and that team didn't really do much, right? That is before Chris Paul joined Devin Booker in the Valley, and they couldn't really get anything going, and then obviously got shipped over to Golden State and was their bench guy, right? Their main sixth man, but really didn't do much, and that was Golden State's worst season. And if you remember, the year after, they won the NBA championship. So it's almost like everywhere Kelly Oubre goes, as soon as he leaves the team, that team ends up getting better. Very intriguing to think of. Then you see what he did in Charlotte over the past 2 seasons. High volume scorer, but not an efficient guy. We're going to talk more about Kelly Oubre here in a second, but it is the pinned comment on today's show. Jesus. But do you want to sign Kelly Oubre Jr.? Type S for sign, type P for pass. If you do get a YouTube ad break, scroll down, let it play, and answer today's pinned comment in the comment section. I'm skeptical of Kelly Oubre's fit, and it's kind of for the reasons that I just mentioned, right? Like, Kelly Oubre is a scorer. He can defend a little bit, but he's not a really good defender. He's not someone you're going to trust to lock down an opponent's best wing or guard. He's lengthy, he's bouncy, he's athletic. Those are positive traits. But I'm not liking his inability to shoot the ball, and I don't like the fact that every time he leaves a team, a la Phoenix, a la Golden State, they immediately get better, and he's a little bit of a black hole on the offensive end as well, and that scares me away. But let's look at Oubre's advanced shooting numbers, because it is the main reason I don't want Kelly in the 305. When you look at his numbers inside 10 feet, they're fine. 53.2%. He's a good slasher. He's fine. But when you look at the other numbers, pull up mid-range, 45, I can live with that too. But here's where things get sketchy. He pulls up on a dribble pull-up 3, 30.6%. That's horrid. What's even worse? That number right there, 32.3% on catch and shoot three-pointers. That's abysmal. And if you think at what the Miami Heat are going to need on their roster if they get Damian Lillard to pair up with Jimmy Butler and Bam, they're going to need someone who can catch and shoot from beyond the arc, because those three players I just mentioned are going to garner a lot of attention by opposing defenses. So the two spots on that roster, or the starting lineup, I should say, are going to be guys that need to shoot the basketball. Kelly Oubre is not that guy. But you know what, Chipper? Let's go deeper, my favorite new segment on the show, and it's something you never want to hear in your life. But let's go deeper on Kelly Oubre's shooting statistics. And when you look at what he does when he's very closely defended, 0 to 2 feet, considered very tight. He shoots 45.5% inside the arc, I should say, on 1.4 field goal attempted. He did not really shoot any three-pointers when he's guarded that tight, which I guess is a good thing. He knows he can't make them, but those numbers aren't great to me. But let's move on to the next one. 2 to 4 feet, which is considered tight defense in the NBA. Shot above 50% in the two-point range, 6.7 shots a night, but only shot 27.5% from three when closely defended. That's a little scary in my book. Now let's look to see how he shoots when he's open. 4 to 6 feet, closest defender. 57% in the arc. That's doable. You can work with that. But here's the scary number. 31% from three when open. That can't happen. You have to hit your open shots in the association. Now, the last number I want to look at, his wide open shooting numbers. It actually goes down. It's very low numbers. He doesn't get a lot of shots when you're that wide open. And let's be honest, people in the NBA don't get shots 6 feet closest defender. Like, there's no way you get that. But he shot 53.8% from two and 36% from three. So even when he's open and has nobody contesting his three-point shot, he still struggles to be efficient. And this is why I am kind of out on Kelly Oubre, right? He can be a scorer. He could be a fine sixth man, giving you 10 to 13 points per night. But his inability to shoot the three on the catch and shoot, on the pull-up, and all the advanced metrics say it, he is not a good three-point shooter. I'm not in on Kelly Oubre. It turns me off. He can't shoot a three. Never want to be turned off. And I think I'm out on Kelly Oubre. But now, let's talk about the other guy mentioned earlier in the show, and in that quote by Greg Sylvander, Christian Wood. And we know there is a ton of mutual interest between Miami, Pat Riley, and Christian Wood. I mean, before Damian Lillard even requested a trade, there was rumors about Christian Wood in Miami being interested in joining partnership. And Wood has been someone who is really good over the last 4 seasons when talking about putting the ball in the cup. I mean, he has consistently gotten better and more efficient as the last 4 seasons have gone on. He really came onto the scene in 2019-20 for the Detroit Pistons, where he put up 13 points a night and shot 56% from the field with an astounding 38.6% mark from deep. But then with Houston, when he was the number one option on the team, he really took it up to another level. 21 points a night, almost a double-double, 51% from the field and 37% from three. And then fast forward to this past season, where he was with the Dallas Mavericks, attempting to be the second or third scoring option in Dallas. And he put up good raw numbers. But there is a thing about Christian Wood that is eerily similar to Kelly Oubre, to where winning does not follow this man. And it's kind of the dilemma with Christian Wood, right? And there's 4 things that I constantly look back to when talking about if Wood is a fit in the 305 with the Heat. And there's a couple positives, there's a couple negatives. We'll start with the 2 positives that are in column 1 and column 3 here. He's a very solid 3-level scorer. You just saw the stats on screen. He shot 37% from 3 or better over the past 4 seasons. And you can slot him at that power forward position right in between Bam Adebayo or right in between Jimmy Butler. And he can really help the flow of the offense, whether it be in an isolation setting or a catch-and-shoot setting. So his offensive fit is really, really good. But he plays no defense whatsoever, and we know this. If you're a Miami Heat fan, you watch the team a lot, you know that you got to play some sort of defense or have good effort on that end to make the rotation. And that's my question. Does he fit a winning culture? I'm not sure if he does. And it's the same thing with Kelly Oubre, but with Wood, it's a little bit different because he's more efficient as a scorer. He doesn't play defense, and everywhere he goes, they don't win. Detroit, they didn't win. Houston, they didn't win. Now he's in Dallas with Luka and Kyrie. They were expected to be a really good team, a championship contender. What happened? They had one of their worst seasons since Luka Doncic became a member of that Dallas Maverick team. There is a very serious question talking about if Wood can lead to a winning team and be a real piece on a championship contending team. That is my main concern. But I do think, though, if the Heat do execute a Damian Lillard trade, I believe Christian Wood will end up putting on the Heat uniform in this 2023-24 NBA regular season. I'm not saying I want it to happen. I'm not saying it should happen. I am just saying, to me, there is a lot of smoke. And as good old buddy of mine, Mitchell Renz, once said, where there is smoke, there is fire. There is too much smoke surrounding Christian Wood and the Heat, pun intended. So I think he will be playing for Miami next season. But I'll ask you, broke down both Christian Wood and Kelly Oubre. I want you guys to pick one. Say the Heat could only sign one. Choose it. Kelly Oubre, type KO. Christian Wood, type CW. I'm going to give you my question or answer here in just a second. If I had to choose, I'm going with Christian Wood. And to be honest, they both seem like a little bit of cancers to their teams, so I might want to stay away from both. But I will say Christian Wood is the most logical fit when talking about him or Kelly Oubre. And it's for the mention that I just made between Bam and Jimmy. The offense will flow perfectly, and you can mask a little bit of Christian Wood's defensive inabilities when you have the best defender on the planet in the NBA, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Rudy Gobert, cool, being rim protectors. But Bam being able to guard 1 through 5 is the best defender on the planet, and you might be able to mask Christian Wood's defensive struggles with how good Bam is and with how good Jimmy is too. I think it's the most ideal fit out of the two, and he could be a solid 6th or 7th man off the bench as well and lead a second unit for scoring. That is why I would lean Christian Wood. That's going to do it for today's show. If you want more Heat news, analysis, even some memes, you want to get a nice laugh on Twitter, follow me at Nic_Rohloff. I'm talking Miami Heat all day long. I fired off some tweets about my sweet prince, Nikola Jovic. So if you want to see those and be informed, follow me on Twitter.